All right,
It's not the shows and the playbills.
let
Yeah,
us
the
begin.
prices are, there's the prices.
She did. I gave her 3 minutes, so, okay, I think we're right.
Yeah.
All right, welcome. Excuse me?
Oh,
We're ready to roll.
Of course. I have a coworker who.
Thank you.
Learned how to horseback ride.
Okay,
awesome.
welcome to the Village of Rybrook Planning Board meeting, and I'd like to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome again. My name is Robert Goodman. I'm Chair of the Planning Board. My colleagues also in attendance tonight are Kevin Branch, John Gerzan, Amy Schoen, and Lenny Baseman. Scott Mendelson and Ed Teague are excused for tonight. Also in attendance is our liaison from the Board of Trustees, David Heiser. Give him a hand. I always miss him. There you go. There you go.
Right or left?
Yeah. 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 Oh, yes. And Trustee Fromm over there. Okay. Okay. I wasn't going to invite, but anyway, our village attorney is Pamela Venya, our superintendent of public works, Michael Nowak, and our village planning consultant from Hardesty and Hanover, Sarah Brown. Our planning board secretary is Tara Orlando, and who does all the minutes and does all the organization behind the scenes. So thank you, Tara. I'll remind everyone that we do have streaming videos, so videos of past planning board meetings can be accessed through the Rybrook website. Also our board rules and past minutes. We don't have any minutes to consider, so we can start our agenda, which is 15 Lock Lane.
Mr. Chairman, can I just
Yeah.
say something?
Yeah.
I would just like to plead with everybody to speak into your microphones because you don't realize it, but you can't hear anything, even on broadcast. There are only certain microphones that come through, and particularly at the podium, it's very hard to hear with the air conditioning, and people tend to forget and don't speak. You have to talk right into it. You can't just go to the side. Speak into it, please. Thank you.
Just a preliminary with this application. How many here are for this application that are in the public? Okay. All right, Jessica,
Yes,
why don't you
evening.
wrap us on? Help?
of course. Good evening. For the record, my name is Jessica Zalin with the law firm of Cuddy and Fader LLP. Appearing on behalf of the applicants Jonathan and Victoria Steiner, I am joined tonight by Matthew Oscar, the project architect, Nicholas Shariah of Hudson Engineering, the project engineer, Eliana Becerril of William Kenny Associates, the wetlands consultant and landscape architect for the project. And we are all here tonight in connection with the continued public hearing on this application for site plan and wetland permit approval for the proposed addition to the existing residence, the installation of the proposed new swimming pool and cabana within the rear yard and associated site improvements to the property located at 15 Lock Lane. It's been a few months since we were last before the board. There are no members of the public here, so I'll take a step back and let the board direct me how much you'd like to hear from me and my team, or whether you'd like to lead the conversation.
Yeah, I think the major issue related to the flood rise. And that has been a technical issue that has consumed the parties, both the village and your team, for quite some time.
Yes.
I gather the DEC, Floodplain Management Agency, has signed off on the engineering. So that is really the last issue that we were dealing with this particular application. We do have does any member of the planning board have any additional questions for the applicant?
No.
we have if there's anyone that wants to speak to this application in the public, we still have a public hearing. Okay. If not, I'd like a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Branch,
Yes.
Mr. Grzan,
Yes.
Ms. Schoen,
Yes.
Mr. Weissman,
Yes.
Chairman Goodman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now Pam, we have a resolution. You can summarize it, but for the most part, but I would focus on the conditions for the thanks.
The resolution addresses the application for site plan approval, wetland permit, and floodplain development permit for 15 Lock Lane. As the applicant has discussed, it involves construction of a two-story addition, removal of an existing deck, construction of a pool, a new rear deck, patio, cabana, and new exterior basement stairs, among other things. The Village of Rybrook is the appropriate authority for site plan approval as well as wetland permit approval. The applicant does propose development within an area of special flood hazard. Therefore, a floodplain development permit is required, which, if approved, will be issued by the Village Superintendent of Public Works. The Planning Board and its staff and consultants reviewed a variety of documents listed in the resolution. This proposed action is a Type 2 action under SECRA, requiring no further environmental review. The Planning Board, the Village Planning Consultant, and the Village Engineering Consultant, as well as village staff, have all reviewed all application materials and made recommendations. A public hearing was opened on April 9th. It was continued until today, August 13th, and has now been closed. Since portions of the project's swimming pool and cabana will be built in the FEMA floodway for the Hillside Avenue Brook, the project will require mitigative regrading for flood conveyance within the floodway to achieve no rise in floodway elevation. The proposed addition to the residence and the new deck, swimming pool, patio, cabana, and area of regrading are all proposed to be located within the 100-foot wetland buffer and will result in an area of disturbance of 6,135 square feet. As required under the village code, this will mandate that mitigation for disturbance of the wetland buffer be made at a ratio of 2:1, which will involve 12,270 square feet of mitigation that has been proposed. The Planning Board has considered the wetland permit standards as well as the site plan approval standards, and subject to the applicant's compliance with the conditions set forth herein, the applicants propose to provide 6,839 square feet of that wetland mitigation on-site through a wetland buffer habitat enhancement plan, which will include native vegetation, as well as 5,435 square feet of off-site wetland mitigation at Edgewood Drive and Bluebird Hollow. The Planning Board resolves to and determines that the site plan and wetland permit applications meet all the applicable standards set forth in Village Code, and will grant the site plan approval and wetland permit if they affirmatively vote on it. I will recite the non-standard conditions verbatim so everyone can hear them. First, and this isn't the first condition, but the first I'm going to recite, is that prior to issuance of a building permit or wetland permit, the applicant shall grant access to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for inspection, testing, and if necessary, remediation of toxic chemicals and or heavy metals. In the alternative, prior to the issuance of a building permit or wetland permit, should the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation determine that inspection and testing on the property is not warranted, upon completing their planned inspection and testing outlined in their site characterization work plan, this condition would be satisfied. In addition, another condition is that prior to issuance of the building permit, a drainage easement to the Village of Rybrook in the location shown on the approved plans shall be submitted for an existing underground culvert in a form acceptable to the village attorney and approved by the Village Board of Trustees. The applicant will be required to record the easement in the Westchester County, and proof of recording must be submitted to the building department. An additional condition is that prior to issuance of the building permit, the applicant shall submit a declaration of restrictive covenants on the property applicable to the applicant as well as all successors and assigns in a recordable form that's acceptable to the village attorney. The declaration of restrictive covenants shall state that after the certificate of occupancy has been issued for all components of the proposed project, no further disturbance shall be permitted within the floodway, as shown on a map with exhibits, without prior written approval of the Village of Rybrook Planning Board. The declaration of restrictive covenants shall be recorded and prior to issuance of the certificate of occupancy. In addition, the applicant must conform to all comments of the village consulting engineer as referenced in the June 10th, 2026 memo. And in addition, prior to issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall secure a floodplain development permit from the village superintendent of public works. All plantings that will be required in the wetland buffer habitat enhancement plan shall be maintained by the property owner and replaced as necessary or as determined by the village superintendent of public works. Prior to the issuance of the building permit, additional wetland mitigation of 5,435 square feet shall be added to the approved plans to the satisfaction of the village planning consultant in a form either of off-site wetland mitigation, as described earlier, on-site mitigation and restoration. The applicants shall submit a 2-year monitoring and maintenance bond for off-site mitigation if such mitigation is authorized by the Board of Trustees. If off-site mitigation is pursued prior to the issuance of building permit, the applicant shall obtain liability and workers' compensation insurance specific to the work to be completed at Edgewood Drive and Bluebird Hollow Stormwater Detention Basin. The remaining conditions are all standard conditions, and the resolution says no permits shall be issued until applicants have paid the village all applicable fees and professional review fees that were incurred in connection with the application. And that is, in sum and substance, the resolution.
Are there any comments by members of the board concerning the resolution?
Once we approve the resolution, what is the, once the approval, we approve the resolution, what is the duration of the approval? Because all of these conditions on the building permit, that may take years.
You have an answer to that question? You may have to come back for an extension, I would presume.
Condition 12 of the resolution states that the planning board's wetland permit approval shall be valid for a period of 1 year from the date of the resolution, and any permit issued is also valid for 1 year.
Okay, I have another question.
So with regards to a building permit is valid for 6 months if no work is performed once issued. Once issued and work begins, that permit is valid for 18
I'm aware
months.
of that, Mike, but
So-
with all those conditions, it may take time before you're in a position to issue the building permit. So our approval may be void by then.
But that's within the code,
Yeah.
so yeah.
They may have to come back.
They have to come back.
They may have to come
I
back.
have a,
Yeah.
after the 2-year monitoring and the maintenance bond, what happens?
So at which point the bond would be sunsetted and returned back to the applicant, and the bond would be closed out. And at that point, then the landscaping becomes part of the village's property
That's
and
what I-
maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, you said they come back. Would they come back asking for an extension, or they come back with a new project?
No,
an
extension.
extension. Is
Just an
that-
extension.
Any
Is that-
changes to the project would require further planning board review and would be an amendment to any approved site plan application.
It'd be a new
I just hope
application.
it's just an extension, that they don't have to go through this process again.
I
Well,
don't
we
think-
hope the
I don't
same.
think they want to.
Thank you.
Applicant, are you satisfied with the language of the,
I do have one comment. Ms. Vania and I have been discussing the first red condition all repeatedly throughout the day. We just have a request that the first clause add to it to note that prior to the issuance of the building permit or wetland permit, for any work that requires excavation of soils, these conditions would have to be fulfilled. So in the event that the applicant wants to do some interior work that requires a building permit, or wants to do work that does not require disturbance of the soils, we would not have to wait for the full
reasonable.
term of the investigation to be completed.
I think that's reasonable.
Great. Thank you.
Would you like me to reread that condition?
Yeah, why don't you reread it?
So this is condition 2 after the now therefore be it resolved clause. It will now read, prior to the issuance of a building permit or wetland permit for work that requires excavation of soils, the applicants, shall grant access to the New York State DEC for inspection, testing, and if necessary, remediation of toxic chemicals and/or heavy metals. In the alternative, prior to the issuance of a building permit or wetland permit for work that requires excavation of soils, should the New York State DEC determine that inspection and testing on the property is not warranted, this condition shall be satisfied. I left some things out, but that's,
Well, you can amend, we'll adopt it as amended. And you can circulate or revise. All right, unless there are any further comments regarding the resolution. We also have a motion to close the public hearing.
No, we already did.
We already did.
Hearing is closed. Do we want to make a motion second for the amended, to accept the
Right.
amendment?
Yes. I mean, if we need to do that. Do we need to do that?
Moved.
All right.
Second.
So Amy and Lenny? Mr. Branch,
Yes.
Mr. Grzan,
Yes.
Ms. Schoen.
Yes.
Mr. Weissman.
Yes.
Chairman Goodman.
Yes.
Mercury site.
Yes. Okay, now, right, now since we have an amended resolution, can I have a motion and a second to adopt that resolution as amended?
Moved. Second.
So we're approving the resolution as amended. Mr. Branch,
Yes.
Mr. Grzan,
Yes.
Ms. Schoen,
Yes.
Mr. Weissman,
Yes.
Chairman Goodman,
Yes.
all approved. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
everyone, for
luck.
your time
Good luck.
working on this project with us.
Yeah, I know. Okay, our next matter is Dorchester Drive and 19 Dorchester Drive and 23 Dorchester Drive. So out of curiosity, how many people in attendance are here for that application? Okay,
We have to open the public hearing?
yep. Can I have a motion and a second to open the public hearing?
Moved. Second.
Mr. Branch,
Yes.
Mr. Grzan,
Yes.
Ms. Schoen,
Yes.
Mr. Teague, I'm sorry, Mr. Weissman,
Yes.
Chairman Goodman,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, now, how I would like to proceed with this is.
Robin, the mic start?
Yeah, sorry. How we'd like to proceed with this is that the public hearing is open, so we will entertain some comments from the public relating to the proposed project. But as we've probably been in contact with you, there are certain documents that need to be sort of firmed up. And I will ask our professionals just to detail what additional things they need from you. Right. And then we can have a more substantive, conversation. But I think the public knows the project in general, and so the comments may be helpful. Sarah, why don't we start with the planning consultant? What do we have and what do we need?
So we did receive some updated materials today from the applicant, and it looks like it was a complete submission from what I was able to briefly look at before the meeting. We were waiting from our end an updated site plan with the new plantings on them, with all the species information. We're also waiting for details on the fencing around and the screening around the tennis court and some sound attenuation information, which has also been submitted. So our office like I said, we just received that today, so we'll be reviewing that for your next meeting.
Okay. Michael, anything from your quarter?
From stormwater management perspective, I believe we're wrapped up. I'm going to re-review it pending whatever happens here in the public hearing, if there are any changes made, but I think overall, on my end.
Okay, all right. So we understand what needs to be done. We got submissions today, so I can't expect the staff to review these
And we
submissions.
just got that update on the actual sound.
Right, that's actually, obviously, the sound issue is a significant issue. So the screening and any sound attenuation equipment or materials, I would, I would let our professionals know what you're planning on doing so that they can review them with you. There may be some materials that work and some that do not. But on that score, we do have members of the public that have made their, yeah, go ahead.
I read the draft resolution, which I know we're not gonna get to it today.
Right.
But when you read that for the first time.
John,
that's what I
talk
would-
into the
That's what I
mic,
would like Chris to go over. It's really not sure what is it that we are approving. Is it a tennis court? Is it a tennis court plus basketball? Lights, no lights, or something like that. So I think there's going to be some conditions along the way on that resolution. But I think for the public benefit, it would be good if Chris goes over the plan and just describe what is it that really they are proposing.
Okay.
Remember, we saw initially just a tennis court, and along the way came the basketball. Is it one hoop, two hoops? I think it would be nice to know that.
Okay.
I think I know it, but I think it would be nice for everybody
Yeah,
to know.
let's get it on the record. So why don't you at least, provide some,
Yeah, we're trying-
recapitulate the project.
So I guess, we've had two prior meetings. Obviously, the immediate neighbors attending those. So this is basically our first official public hearing.
Right,
Correct. So I assume we're kind of starting from scratch in case there are other people that received the notice within the 250-foot radius.
Yeah, I think since we're on the record for the public hearing,
Right.
I think John is right. I think
So I
it'd
should go
probably be a
kind
good
of through
start.
the whole thing as if we were starting from scratch, just so that
Yeah, I mean,
most
you
of us, I think, in the room are fully aware of
can
what's.
abbreviate it at selected points if you choose, but I think it would be good for the public to have an idea of what the project is. And of course, what we're talking about 5 minutes ago was firming up the plan so that our professionals can do some technical evaluation of what the plans sort of mean from the standpoint of
Right.
landscaping and et cetera, so.
Yeah, as far as the site plan goes, it was, nothing has been modified in way of grading, contours. We did designate the steep slope area also. But I'll get the show on the road, I guess, and I'm Chris Scelfo, owner and project manager of Optimum Building, and I'm here this evening on behalf of Jason and Angela Ryan regarding the proposed lot merger associated residential site improvements at 19 and 23 Dorchester Drive. Since our prior appearances before the planning board, we have continued to work closely with the village staff and the consultants, professionals, and our own design and engineering team to respond to the comments and concerns raised during the review process.
Just, I'm sorry, something just occurred. You keep saying 1923. What is the address going to be of this home?
19,
Okay, thank you.
so, right, the 23 is the,
Once we merge the lots, I will, once we merge them, right, we'll work on the number.
okay. We have taken the comments received during the prior meeting seriously, and the plans have been revised in several important areas. In particular, we have focused on the issues that appeared to generate the greatest concern during the review process: stormwater management, the drainage, landscaping, visual screening, steep slope conditions, and sound mitigation associated with the proposed tennis court. The stormwater management plan has been substantially reviewed and revised since our earlier meetings, and our engineers have continued to respond to the technical comments provided through the village's engineering review, and the drainage design has been revised accordingly. The revised system is intended to collect and manage stormwater associated with the proposed tennis court, pool house, pool area, and existing residential improvements on the property, with the objective of managing that runoff on site and minimizing the impacts to the surrounding properties. There has also been discussions regarding areas of steep slopes on the property, and those areas have now been identified on the plans, and we understand that a separate steep slopes work permit application will be required as part of the approval process. Landscaping, the landscaping plan has also been substantially revised in response to comments received during the prior meetings. Our objective has been to provide meaningful screening of the proposed tennis court while maintaining an appropriate residential landscape for the property and the surrounding neighborhood. The revised plan incorporates substantial evergreen screening around the court, together with additional deciduous shade trees throughout the property. Since our last appearance, the large 28-inch maple existing along the Dorchester frontage was unfortunately lost during the storm. And as part of the revised landscape plan, we are proposing 3 red maple trees along the front of the property as replacement trees in the village right-of-way. The overall landscaping plan has been designed not simply to meet planting requirements, but to create a substantial visual buffer between the proposed improvements, Dorchester Drive, and the adjoining properties as the plantings mature. The proposed tennis court remains located towards the rear portion of this approximately 1 acre residential property. One point that I think is important when viewing the site plan is the actual scale and relationship of these improvements to the street and neighboring properties. The proposed court is approximately 75 feet.
Do you have, I keep looking at the screen, hopefully that some drawing is going to appear, but nothing is appearing.
I'm not a Mac guy, so I tried to figure it out.
That's fine, right? Yeah, you go. What else going on? There you go. Okay, so the proposed tennis court remains located toward the rear portion of the, we said that. The proposed court is approximately 75 feet back from the curb, and the proposed pool house is approximately 150 feet from the street. The court will have no lighting. As the board is aware, portions of the proposed tennis court fencing are 10 feet in height, and the required zoning relief for that fencing has been addressed through the separate zoning board process. The additional fence height is functional for the use of the court and also provides an opportunity to incorporate additional visual screening and sound mitigation measures into the overall design. We also recognize that that sound associated with the use of this court has been an important concern expressed during the prior review process. We have not ignored that concern. We are continuing to evaluate the appropriate sound mitigation system and the supporting technical information so that what is ultimately submitted to the board is accurate, appropriate for the specific installation, and can be properly reviewed by the board and its consultants. That work is being developed, and we intend to provide the board with the appropriate specifications and supporting documentation as part of the continuing review process. This application has now been before the planning board on more than one occasion, and with each review, we have attempted to respond constructively to the comments we have received. The project before you tonight reflects those efforts. The drainage design has been revised. The landscaping and screening plan has been revised. The steep slope areas have been identified and will be addressed through the required permitting process. And we continue to work on the appropriate sound mitigation measures associated with the tennis court. We understand that some of the most recent revised materials may require additional time for review by the board, village staff, and consultants, and we certainly respect that process.
Do you want to go through your sound, drawing or
Yeah,
video?
we'll just go to, so with the landscaping plan here, the changes that were made were within the tennis court area on the left side and the rear, which original landscape design had deciduous trees. They were changed to native evergreens to have a constant coverage of the fencing and the court as opposed to deciduous.
What
Could you-
kind of, I'm sorry,
Could you point out your entry and egress points
Sure.
for the court?
thank you.
So we have 10-foot fencing on the rear, the left side, and the front. We have 10-foot, comes back at 18 feet from the front and the rear 18 feet, and then it drops down to 5 feet in the center portion from this area to here, and our entry is dead center at the net,
So one.
one entry.
Do you have the rendering
I was
available?
just gonna
If
ask
you
you,
show
yeah.
that rendering, it would save you a lot of time
Right.
explaining. I think
Right.
it really shows how well you are doing this.
And also, if you could just tell us what kind of evergreens.
The evergreens are white spruce along the rear and the left side, and then the front section. Across the front were emerald greens, arborvitae. And then along the street line, these are green giant arborvitaes here, and up this side stop at that point, and then we go to white spruce from the front of the tennis court to the rear. And white spruce continues across the back. And then we go to sugar maple across the back by the pool area.
Chris, you keep, again, I apologize for interrupting you. You keep referring to tennis court, but if you look at the middle drawings, that's a basketball hoop there, correct?
Yes,
I think we need to make that known so that everybody's aware that there will be one basketball hoop on it, so there will be no surprises later on
Right.
once we go through the approval.
yeah, there's plans for one hoop on the rear, on the backside. There's also the neighboring properties on the rear here have a large green giant arborvitaes across the back. They're standing right now at about 12 to 14 feet. And then continue across the other property here at about 10, which I have a picture of. So that's the neighboring property. Those are the existing arborvitaes that are here. And again, some are standing as tall as 14 feet. This particular PVC fence that you see in the picture here is being removed and relocated to be put along the entire rear of the property. So we have several layers of somewhat sound control, right? The neighboring property plus the new plantings that we're going to install, along with the 6-foot fencing.
Did you have a rendering?
Let me just go through.
And the zoning board did approve, gave you a variance for a 10-foot fence.
Yes.
They did, yes.
Okay.
these were just snapshots of other tennis courts in Rybrook down on Lincoln Avenue. As far as fencing goes, this fence is a 10-foot, so this is the similar fencing that we're proposing to install. And again, on the interior side of the property, the fence is going to drop down to 5 feet. And that's, of course, to control errant balls so they're not winding up in the neighbor's backyard.
And the sound absorbing barrier of material, that's correct?
Correct, yeah, so on the left side and the rear.
Have you had the chance to investigate sort of what materials you may be thinking about?
What's the question?
Yes, the sonic sound guard is one particular material we're looking at
Right.
right now, which we're going to submit. That's part of that study that was presented to the village. That's got a whole full report of the actual site.
Oh, you've provided that?
Today.
Oh, today?
It just, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we just received
Okay.
it today, and that was submitted.
All right.
This is a rendering of both properties, the Ryan's existing home here, proposed pool house in the back, again, 150 feet off the street, tennis court here with the arborvitaes, and the white spruce along the left side and the rear. This is not showing, because that was just recent, the red maples are going to be planted along the village right-of-way. That's an existing birch tree. That's existing. Eventually, that's the emerald green arborvitaes that are quite mature in this picture, but that's ultimately what will wind up in front of the tennis court. I mean, we're planting, the new plantings will start at 7 feet, and they grow 1 to 2 feet a year.
Okay.
It was requested that any evergreens that we plant along the left side, especially the white spruce, have some good spacing so that they're not growing into each other in
Right.
2 years. So within a 10-year period, they'll just touch and not be ripped out in 10 years because they're overgrowing and dying.
Right.
If I recall at the last meeting, the open issue was really the sound attenuation.
Right.
Yes,
Material.
and that's what
Yeah.
all this is
Yeah.
about. The landscaping, the character of the
Lighting,
landscaping.
there was the lighting also.
That, I think, has been resolved. They're not putting lights.
There is no lights.
There are no
That was
lights.
said the very first time we
Right.
met.
Right.
I hope that sound attenuation material is green color, not, so it blends well with the greenery.
You won't really see it.
Sorry, John? You were saying the color of the screening?
Yes.
Yes, I believe we were going back and forth between black and green, but obviously.
Something that would
green
blend well with
right,
the surrounding.
correct.
No
And
pink?
The black chain link fence from 80 feet away almost disappears.
Yeah.
So with the green of the emerald green, I'd
A
say
lot of them are
green.
green today.
That
Right.
blend in.
Yeah,
Right.
makes sense.
I would
Yeah.
think that
And
would-
you say you submitted the test data on that material
so
as
this is-
as
yeah,
far as the
correct.
attenuation?
So, yeah, this is a sound study showing the existing property and the surrounding homes. Again, this is fresh. They have decibel levels from the court. The closest neighboring property is at 31 decibels. And then as you get further away, of course, the decibel level is decreased.
How does 31 decibels compare to, say, kids frolicking in a pool?
Elliot Senor, the engineer. Conversation is around 60.
What?
Conversation is around
So
60
tennis is
decibels,
lower than,
half as much.
okay.
You
And
can hear
I think it's every 3 decibels sounds half as loud. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's correct.
Well, give me something else to reference, like, kids playing basketball, and, what would that be at?
That would be much higher.
Yeah, It's not so much the conversation of the thing,
It's
it's
the
the
ball.
bouncing of the ball
That's right.
is the loud part of
Right.
it. And, he actually, you wanna show the video at
It's
this
not,
point?
it's a logarithmic.
So
you
he actually
can't
has a-
really, it's
he
not
has a-
linear.
A video of the, material on a fence, with people playing, behind it.
So just for information, I mean, a
So
Google
intermittent
search
sound.
Thanks.
of tennis was 45 to 60, where basketball is 90 to 115, roughly. That's just the Google search, so it's not certified, but
Understood. So I imagine like music playing in a backyard when people are entertaining is even louder than that, for instance, right?
So this is a
Normal
video
neighborhood activity.
which shows pickleball being played, and you hear the noise reduction once they get behind the screening.
Normal conversation is 60 to 70 decibel.
Wow.
So if you notice in the video, and it's not the particular site, but it's them playing basketball. Once you go behind the screen, you don't hear the ball anymore. You hear the conversation still, but you don't hear the ball and back and forth.
And that's right behind the screen.
Yes.
So the,
5 feet, yeah.
right, so the nearest property is how far away?
The closest neighboring property to the structure from the tennis court
Right.
is probably 35, 40 feet.
But the property line is only 10 feet off the fence?
No, it's closer than that.
The,
Right,
I'm talking about the neighbor from the left,
Yeah,
on the
well-
left side.
yeah, we'll, yeah, we'll,
conversation afterwards.
Right.
Is only 10 or 15 feet.
Yeah,
15 feet.
well, that's his,
Nope,
Here.
just the property line.
Hey, Chris, on the left side of the property, where
Yes.
the court is, from the property line to the left neighbor, approximately to the
20.
structure,
20.
from the property line. So
Property
from the tennis fence, about 30, 35
So
feet
we got
roughly.
15 feet from the property line to the court,
So you're looking at about 35 feet roughly.
35.
So roughly 35 feet, okay.
guessing, yeah. I mean, it looks like his short side is on the left garage, so if he has 15, he should have 25 on the other.
Currently, if you're on Dorchester, you can see on the left, you can see the houses on Country Ridge.
From our from the
Mhm.
Ryan
And
property,
if you're on Dorchester,
can't see through because
yes, I was there today. You
Yeah.
can. You don't see the full house, but
you're
you
in the
see
back
glimmers, the
facing,
backs of their houses. Yes.
Rocking Horse,
No, the wherever the backs are of these houses, you can see at least two houses.
yeah, go back to that.
Not totally, but you can see probably half the house. And I'm assuming if you're putting the trees in, that is going to
Right, so
close that in.
That's the rear.
Well, but it doesn't look exactly like that if you're on Dorchester now.
I mean, I know that because I've been there back there
Hmm.
looking south. I can probably see Mr. Feldesman's
In
house.
that,
Looking towards,
In that
if you're
image.
parallel, they're parallel with Dorchester.
in that image, where are you standing on the property in that image?
Right there, I am at the,
Roughly.
where the back of the house was.
So you're basically in the middle of the property in that image,
Right.
looking towards the back of the houses
looking at
on
the rear.
Country Ridge.
Looking at the rear.
So from there to the road is probably what, another 50 feet, maybe 65 feet?
Probably,
roughly.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think right now, pretty where that picture is where the tennis court ends, closest to the street. Yes.
Front side of the tennis court.
any other comments by the board? No? Okay, members of,
The other neighboring property with the arborvitae's there, that is standing about 10 feet tall.
And you can see the bit of the house in the back there.
Right.
I actually do have another question. I noticed there was a neighbor letter from a neighbor regarding pickleball as a concern.
Right.
Are there any activities besides tennis and basketball that you expect to generate volume on this?
My understanding is full use, tennis, basketball, pickleball, but the primary use is tennis because we could save a lot of money by just doing a pickleball court, but that's not the objective. We're really looking for tennis play and basketball. But there is,
Well, pickleball is louder,
correct.
what I
louder.
gather,
Right.
so,
I mean, any research I'm doing, I'm researching as if I'm doing pickleball, because assuming that it gets played, that, yeah, we want to be able to cover all the bases.
Right, so that should be the decibel levels that you're quoting should be for pickleball, for instance, not necessarily for,
right, that would be the loudest use. You know,
And I believe the study is based on pickleball, because again, I wanted the extreme to cover the neighbors.
Okay. So, you've submitted everything that you need to submit. For the moment, I think our professionals will take a look at it, and there'll hopefully be a dialogue between you and them if they have questions or recommendations, because the issue is sound and sound attenuation, and so whatever can be done to mitigate that potential issue would be welcome. Now, as far as the public hearing today is concerned, I'm happy to entertain comments. It may be more fruitful to wait until next month when the final plans are actually submitted and on our website that you can take a look at. But I'll leave that, up to you. Does anyone want to speak to this application? Yes, sir, with the hand up.
I think it would be a good idea, yes, let them have their due to speak this way if there's
Yeah.
any other concerns that we're not.
Right. Sir, identify yourself and your residential location.
My name is Philip Schiller, and I reside at 84 Country Ridge Drive. I'm against having a tennis court on 23 Dorchester, as well as the combining of the properties, because it is out of character with the rest of the neighborhood and would set a dangerous precedent. And I have three main points that I would like to go over with the board. In my opinion, the property is too small to have a 4,200 square foot house, a pool house, and a tennis court on less than 1 acre of land. The combined size of both lots. I also learned at last week's zoning board meeting that 10 feet of the setback is to be used in order to accommodate everything. So instead of there being a distance of 5 feet from the house behind 23 Dorchester, there is now 15, resulting in 10 feet less of the setback in front of the house. I don't know how this is even possible. The other point I have is that some neighbors at last week's zoning board meeting expressed some concerns. If you read between the lines, what they're really saying is that they are concerned that the current plans will have a negative effect on their property values, something that might sour the relationship with the neighbors. And last, if the project is completed, my estimate of the value of the property is approximately between $5.5 and $6 million. The current value of the house and pool, plus the cost of the land on 23 Dorchester, plus all of the demolition and construction costs of the pool house, tennis court, landscaping, and drainage. A very tough sell in a neighborhood that barely hits $2 million. In conclusion, what I would like to see on 23 Dorchester is another house. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Richard Shapiro, together with my wife Rhoda. We live and have lived for almost 48 years at 120 Country Ridge Drive, which indeed is the property immediately behind the proposed tennis court, basketball court. If this project is indeed to be approved, as has been referenced just a few moments ago, what about pickleball? Our big concern in the world of noise mitigation is the additional sound that pickleball represents. And indeed, it has been concurred in the conversation this evening that of the various levels of noise that may come from this project, the one that is the greatest would be indeed pickleball. And as I said, it has been stated in the conversation that yes, the principal intention is for tennis and for basketball, but yes, this project will be constructed to accommodate pickleball. So we should assume, even if it isn't the primary usage, that it will be available for use for pickleball. It is our view, based on our understanding of the noise level of pickleball, and everyone who we have talked to, who we have said, well, we may have a pickleball court behind us. They said, oh my gosh, the noise from that. We believe that any resolution regarding this property should have as a condition that there would not be pickleball allowed on this property as part of the approval process. The nature of the ball, the racket, the hard court that we're talking about, the rapidity of the back and forth, that is clearly part of pickleball, in our view, makes the sound level, even with noise mitigation, and we look forward to seeing the material that is put together and presented to this board, will simply be an unreasonable level of noise concern for a neighborhood that is as tight as this. We're not talking about, we've been shown some pictures involving Lincoln Avenue. Country Ridge is not Lincoln Avenue. Country Ridge and the property in question is simply, is not Pine Ridge Park. These are tight residential lots. This lot is proposed to be a little bit under an acre. That will be large for Country Ridge. And we're talking about putting all of this stuff into a very, very small area. And as I said before, the back of the tennis court between the proposed fence, and we approve that the higher fence clearly, to our property line is all of 15 feet. Not a lot of space. That's what we'd like to impart to the board this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Nancy Schiller. I live at 84 Country Ridge Drive, and I'll bring up whatever wasn't brought up before. They mentioned last week about the fencing, and they were originally going to have 5 feet along the side by the house, and then they're going to have 18 and 18, but they're still going to have 5 feet. So there's a big distance with this 5 feet, and not everybody plays tennis well. The ball could still go over, go out into the street, hit me, hit dogs, hit cars. So I don't see why it can't be 10 feet entirely. But regardless, you can't, nobody's going to be happy because you need at least 10 feet behind, for the house behind you. And the people that live right across the street said they don't want 10 feet because that's all they're going to see from their house. So it was an eyesore. Also, if you don't put a house, you can have less property taxes versus the tennis court. And I agree there should be no pickleball, but even so, even if you agree to that, what about the next owner? They could play pickleball, and who's to stop them? And originally it was just supposed to be a tennis court. Now there's going to be basketball, which is louder, and then possibly pickleball, which is even louder. And people that are living in like, gated communities with pickleball, they're going crazy. And it doesn't have to be, it could be so far away and they still hear it. It doesn't belong here. The properties on Lincoln Avenue and the ones that have tennis courts are 2 or 3 acres, not less than an acre. And to me, when we were at the zoning board meeting, we all had concerns, and we were told before the meeting, we were talking to the chairman, that there's five circumstances that you have to meet, none of which, it doesn't matter if the neighbors disapprove. So why is there a public meeting if they don't care what the neighbors have to say? I'm hoping it's different here.
It should be.
Good.
And I think the zoning board also takes,
Well, they
takes
got
into
letters,
mind.
but it's like, it doesn't matter. Do they meet the 5 criteria? If so, it doesn't matter.
Well, I'll let the zoning board respond to you, but
Okay.
I can only speak for the planning board. But I find, and I think my colleagues would agree, that public hearings are very important to take the temperature of a project, and it does impact upon our view of a project. I think all of these comments have been very reasonable and analytical, and we'll have to, we can't do anything but take them into consideration. So we really appreciate your comments and your input, because it will definitely inform our decision.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
participation. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Ellen Harmon. I'm at 16 Hillendale Road. I'm not an adjacent neighbor. I really have a question more than anything else, although my heart goes out to the adjacent neighbors whose peace and tranquility of years and years is about to be destroyed, and never to be turned back. I think it's egregious. But my question is, Chris referred to a tennis court or tennis courts, I'm not sure which, on Lincoln Ave. And I'm wondering, because I'm sure that one of your guiding criteria are character of the neighborhood. Is it out of character? I've lived here for 43 years. I don't know of any tennis courts in Rybrook. I really don't. So I was wondering if you had a take on how many tennis courts there are in Rybrook and where they're located, because this seems to me to be completely out of character with the neighborhood. That's all I wanted to know.
Thank you.
Well, I only know of 3. One is, of course, the public park on Pine Ridge. But both tennis courts that I know of are both on Lincoln, within 1,000 feet of each other. And of course, it's hard to get a tennis court on a 15,000 square foot lot. But in a case like this, where we have just shy of an acre, we were able to accommodate one within the zoning laws. So to answer your question, yes, I only know of 2. There's a bunch of sports courts here and there, but full-blown tennis court, I only know of those 2.
Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Jim Feldesman, 37 Rocking Horse Trail, 2 houses away.
Speak up.
That's not usually my problem. It'll be what it'll be. My biggest concern still is, even though I heard that the drainage has been satisfied, or will be satisfied. But I actually took the time this afternoon to look at the site plan on the village website. Not that I understood it, because I'm far from being an architect or anything along that line. There was one point where it talks about, Chris, a prop ACO drain. If you looked at the foot of the driveway, could you explain that? I have no idea what that means.
My engineer could.
Well, one of the 2 of you, I'll accept any one of them.
Yeah, come up to the microphone, and
question.
if you have a response,
They can't answer it.
if you have a response, sure.
An ACO drain is also known as a zipper drain or a trench drain. At the bottom of the driveway, it covers the full width. The ACO is the name brand of the particular one that we show on our detail sheet.
So that is going to be inserted as to what they formerly had, which we spoke about before the meeting, and they actually told me how bad it was, which I had no clue. So you're going to be adding a drain there. That's one. Our biggest concern, everybody
Yeah,
else,
come
is
up
just
to,
the water.
come up to the microphone so you can,
Everything flows down.
So our system is designed for all the improvements on the property, the existing house, the driveway, the pool and the pool patios, et cetera, as well as the tennis court. So yes, we're adding a zipper drain, a trench drain across the front of the driveway that is being directed to Coltex or dry well system just behind the proposed sport court. And that's gonna take all the water, all the additional runoff as required by the code.
yeah,
The ports is going to be over here. The drain is over here. How are they, sorry.
Let me turn this on.
Pipes. Pipes.
Pipes. But he has it going the other way, so, as opposed to coming down.
Pumps.
Believe me, I know about pipes. I have one going across my property.
So what he's asking is, are you going to have a pump system to push it up the elevation? Because there is a change of elevation in that location.
That's what you're going to use as a pump to try to push it
No,
up.
there's no pump required. So, I brought a hard copy because I can't see the screen. So the trench drain in the driveway is at an elevation of 223.8, and the invert, the pipe, the bottom of the pipe is at 222.8, about a foot deep. And it's directing the water across the property here, this pipe going from the trench drain, which is here at the driveway, across this way to the Coltex. The Coltex, or the bottom elevation, is 219.5. So 219.5 to 222.8 or 223 is about 4 feet lower.
Yep.
Right, 4 feet lower. So there's a 4-foot slope from the trench drain to the bottom of the Coltex. The Coltex are about 3 feet high. The invert that we show at this point here where it enters is 221.15. So the pipe is at a 1.5%, so that's a little less than a quarter per foot. So it's sloping to that direction.
The project improvements will definitely improve the water runoff.
Okay.
That's one of my pet peeve, and I always
with you,
look at
John.
that.
And I appreciate
Because
it.
I have a problem
I know,
on
we've
my own
discussed it,
property, yes.
And I really don't want to be calling Mr. Nowak
no, I don't think Mike wants any more calls on anything.
to.
It's not what he told me.
Has nothing to do with much, but it's stone curbs replacement, newer replacements. Is that, yeah, is that, again, that's going to affect the water? It was on the site plan that talked about the water.
Well, I mean, there is a stone curb there now. I think in the area where there was a driveway curb cut, we're gonna replace that at a standard height curb.
Goes up there, right.
Is that going to be asphalt or is that going to be Belgian block?
It'll be stone curb. This
That's pre-existing curbing.
Makes sense.
And I promise you I would say it. Are you really going to put a flagpole by the house? You can answer.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. I always appreciate
I
it.
promised you I would.
I know. No, thank you. It's, appreciate everybody's comments. Jason Ryan, 19 Dorchester. It is in the plans for us to put a flagpole. We love this country, love America, and the goal is to have a flagpole with the American flag in our property. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. What we'll do is we're going to continue the public hearing next month. By that time, there should be additional information plans up to be reviewed. And I think that there are certain reports and other studies that will also be reviewed by our professionals, so we'll have some feedback on that. So on that score, we'll adjourn till next month, and hopefully we will have additional input from the public, and you'll give us additional input as well. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our final matter is.
Hey, Peter is
This
back.
is-
Anthony's back. Look.
All right, John.
How are you, Joe? Good. I haven't seen you in forever. How's everybody? Family is good?
Rob.
Yes. Yeah.
Absurd.
We have
Anymore,
another
you know.
application
No,
coming up.
no.
If you have some comments, we'll take them next week.
Thank you.
Not a
How's
problem.
Lori? Please tell her I said hi.
You know what you can do? You can always send a
You
letter.
don't see anybody anymore.
If you have additional comments
Do you go
beyond
to
what you've
Florida in the
done,
winter?
send
Do you go
send
to
a letter
Florida?
to Michael.
Yeah, yeah. We can't do any of it anymore because we're the only two left in our area in the wintertime. Yeah.
Thursday.
And Joe and
So
Joyce.
it's, September something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next week,
Yeah.
next month.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
14th, or 13th, 14th of September.
September 10.
10.
All right.
Okay.
It happens.
All right.
Yeah.
We have another application,
Please.
so thank you. We'll see you next month. All right. Okay, the Anderson Hill Road project.
Mr. Anthony. How are you?
Ready?
Okay.
Any pickleballs?
No
Yes,
pick-
we do have pickleball.
do
We
pick-
may have pickleball.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
know you have bocce, but yeah.
what? Okay, what we'll do is let's have a presentation, and then let's talk about the DEIS, because I think that's our principal task here, is to go through your, sort of the framework for that document and discuss it, see if there are any additional comments the board may have. I think you are going to be before the Board of Trustees, next month
The
on
8th.
this? 8th is. So this is basically just a discussion. We have time to, I think, put our comments together if we have any. But, now you're here, so give us your pitch.
Okay, my name's Tony Veneziano. I'm here on behalf of Erickson, and we have our full team here tonight. Now, maybe for you, a very simple matter to comment on the scope, but for us, it's a big deal. It's
Oh,
really
sure.
one of our first full presentations.
Of course.
So, we submitted our petition on June 11th to the village board, and on June 25th, they adopted a resolution saying they intend to be the lead agency. On June 25th, we submitted a letter, and on
Tony,
July
speak up.
28th, they confirmed their lead agency, adopted a positive declaration, and set the scope for the 8th. So we thought it would be a good idea to come here so that you had the information you need, because I don't know what you all, each one of you know. So we want to make sure you have enough information to actually comment at the village board meeting on the 8th, or you'll have 10 days for written comments if they should close that hearing. We submitted a 38-page? A 38-page scoping outline, so we think we've hit most of the issues, but
I read it.
was it good?
It's
You ready
it's
to-
long.
Scintillating.
It's chock full. What?
You're telling us what you're gonna do, so.
It's
what you
spelled
wanna
out
study.
very well.
You ready to vote? What do we?
No, I mean, you gave us the questions, now we're waiting for the answers.
Yeah, well, we're drafting the answers. Or
Okay.
If we can cajole AKRF to move along here.
What I did learn from reading this 28-page document, you finally have the number of the units.
Yeah.
870, what, something?
834.
834.
Do you want to go? You want to do this?
I don't know what's going on here, right?
Yeah, no, so that's, I got to get everybody up to the baseline.
Okay.
So Erickson Living Properties LLC closed on the property last week. Okay, so they went into contract in the fall. It was an unconditional contract, and we did a lot of work, planning work, site work, soils work, work with neighbors, to get where we were, where they were comfortable to close. The petition requests basically a new PUD, 975 Anderson Hill Road. It adjusts the density, the height, the FAR, etc. There's a new use of continuum of care retirement community, which is in the zoning. The concept plan has 750 independent units and 84 assisted living units, 834 units. This density is below what other PUDs in the village have on the books, for example, 900 King Street. Now, the abutters, we have the right map up. Good job, Peter. So north is at the top of the screen. To the south is the Blindbird Country Club. It's 650 feet away from our front buildings. To the east is Doral Greens, which is 350 feet away. And to the north is Kingsfield, which is 425 feet away at that closest point. And to the left is a Forest SUNY Purchase where the kids go. Now, when we first started planning this, I'm just going to take a few minutes. I'm at 50,000 feet. When we first started this, we had a title impediment, right? We had, as part of the prior approvals, we had an agreement restricting what we could do on the golf range, which was the southwestern quadrant of the site, where we can only do office, which is why the Cohen proposal, when it came into the village, had medical office there, because they didn't quite have that resolved. So we went to Doral Greens in the fall, and we worked with them for months. And we have an agreement with them. We met with them today, and they fully support the project at this point. We originally had a landscape berm along their common property line. They said you could take it down. Interestingly, they never had a concern regarding conflicting traffic patterns. And they never really had a concern, as long as we stayed a little bit away, with what would be on that site. And this use, it's like where they're going to go. I mean, within the first 2 or 3 meetings, they sort of liked Erickson, and they sort of see it as their next place. And it's right next door, and their people were trying to bring them right along. So we have that in place. They're going to submit a letter, and they'll come to hearings. The as-of-right plan under the PUD is 490 senior living units. We're above that. Our original plan was 1,034 units. And we did that because when you look at the prior use of the property, the Arrowwood Conference Center, Doral Arrowwood Conference Center, that generated a number of impacts that, let me just see where that piece is. Doral generated 287 vehicle trips in the AM peak and 355 in the PM peak. We generate 233 as opposed to 287 and 175 as opposed to 355. The average entry age to this site is 80. The average occupant age is 85. So the traffic numbers are really employee numbers. The people that come to give the services, and you're going to hear from Marianne Navarro, from Erickson tonight, about all the services they provide for their people. 900 King Street, which I mentioned before, really set the highest bar for the PUD, which Peter and I both worked on. So the PUD has 9,000 square feet or 6 units you can have per acre. King Street has 19,175 square feet and 12.3 units per acre. We're under both of those. But I just want you to know, we looked at the impacts. This site, if you look at the surrounding properties, and you assume Doral Green supports this, there's very little opposition in this area. There's very little traffic that can't be handled in this part of town. And the visual impacts, you saw in the document, we'll have a full visual impact study. And our taxes are projected to be, right now, $8.1 million to you at full build-out. So when we were working, and there's 2 members of the village board are here. They're here to monitor me. in specific. So we were at the point where we're looking at the code and there's this sort of a conflict. There's this 10% affordable housing. So Erickson supports the concept of putting the affordable housing. And we placed it in the southwestern, right off the entry drive. We had a separate building. And we met a few times with the village board and they sort of didn't like that.
Right.
It was segregated.
Sort of didn't like it.
They didn't like it enough that they persuaded us to think very hard about how we could accommodate this affordable component. Now, you're going to hear tonight about the fact that to enter into an Erickson community, and they're a national company, Marion will tell you about that, you have an entry fee, which is substantially refunded upon your last act on the planet, or if you leave, you get 80-90% of it back. And there's services, a service number. They have a lifetime commitment. Once you're in an Erickson community, they can't kick you out. So they do it, their sort of economic due diligence at the beginning, and then they let you in. But if for some reason you have to go into the assistant, they have to bear that and lose that. So we ended up committing to 5% affordable units, same size. We have two sizes, but same size as the other units. A lot of people put affordable housing at a discounted, they discount the size of the units. And that was all sort of generally thought to be a peaceful place to end up. Now, I will say, because they're here, the village board said that they still want to review the overall density. And we said, fine, that's a fair butter fight. We'll bring our butter knives and we'll figure that out. We also, Peter Furrow and I sort of came up with this way to look at this analytical model, which was for every 50 units, you deduct, because there's no reason to limit the number just because it feels like a high number. One of the village board members at the first meeting, when we had 1,034 units, said that's 10% of our community. And we said, okay, sorry. So, and that really resonated with the client. So we addressed that. But for every 50 units, you lose $490,000 a year in taxes. And you lose 14 vehicle trips against 233 total. So you have to look at how much is the benefit to you versus what we get out of it, because there's a risk there with the affordable component. I've sort of said way too much about it, but it's at the heart of why we need this density in this project. Part of our due diligence, just so I have a few wrap-up points, part of our due diligence led us to water. It was a whole find water, where are we going to get water? So we went to Veolia and we worked with them, and Diego, basically, New York City sells water to Veolia. It all worked out. We have a will serve letter, and they've asked for a tank, a storage tank, which we've conceptually agreed to. It's going to be, right now they're looking for a place to ackrate with pumps to pressurize it, but that's something that'll help a lot of people in that portion of the village. We also, right off our entry drive to the left, there's a marketing building that they built for their facilities. And I think it's just after the first phase, right, Steve? You'll convert it? So after the first phase, which is right now 300 units, they'll take that and convert it to a recreational building for the village. We've spoken to the village board about what the village would want. Ungats, they can't come up with two things in a row. So we're going to work with them and start to work with them right now to help design something, because we're going to actually give it to you. We'll fix it up and give it to you, and you'll have to maintain it. So we feel that there's a barrier towards, too much, because you're going to have to put the money in to maintain it. But it's not even going to be age restricted. It's going to be for everyone right now. It could be whatever you want, but for everyone in the village. We met with Doral Greens today. I could say this, right, Steve? And They, they have like one bike for a gym. I said, you have a gym? Oh yeah, it's right around the corner. There's like a bike in there and a place to do sit-ups. So I told, well, we're going to have a gym here for everyone in the village. And they said that when Doral Arrowwood was originally put in, they had a gym, they had a pool, they had tennis courts, they had a golf. It was like their own private country club. So I told them that they could use this gym, and so they're gonna start to participate in that design. They have a meeting in early September. I think that's where we're going to close this time.
Can I
You
just,
want to say something? Wow.
only because I'm going to forget if I don't say it. In looking at the maps on and the material that was sent to us, you have Harrison, you have Purchase, you have Portchester, and you have Rye. Did you mean Rye, or was that supposed to be Rye Brook?
Well, I don't know what you're, you know?
You're talking about the figure with the map? Is that
Yeah,
correct? Yes.
I am.
That was an earlier version that I didn't QC exactly right.
So you meant Rye Brook,
And
and that's going to be changed. Okay.
we can get that update.
Excuse me, sir, can you identify yourself?
I'm Jason Mencher. I work as part of the project team. I'm with ACARE.
He's actually drafting.
Thank you.
And it's interesting because Diego keeps trying to get me to meet with the city of Rye because of the stormwater issue. So I tell him we're going to have a zero increase in stormwater runoff, and why do I need with Rye? But they'll be writing a letter saying, please don't affect us downstream. Ready to go? Should I move my crown?
Sure.
Hi, everyone. Peter Farrow with AKRF. So we're the project planners, environmental engineers. I'm going to start and just give you kind of the more boring overview of the site, the project, and the very specific zoning asks and site plan asks that we have, just to kind of level set. So just as Tony mentioned, right, we're at 975 Anderson Hill Road. It's about 83 acres in the village of Rybrook. Portions of the property that Erickson owns are in the town of Harrison and in Greenwich, Connecticut. Those portions of the site are not included in that 83 acres, and there are no plans to improve those pieces. So all the development is on the formerly improved site of the Arrowwood Conference Center in Rybrook. The site is currently zoned as a PUD, and obviously it was developed with the Arrowwood Hotel Conference Center. So 393 key hotel, about 110,000 square foot conference center, 718 parking spaces, a 9-hole golf course, and as we all know, it closed in 2020. Since that time, the site has been cleared, all the buildings have been removed, down to the foundations. The site still retains its access from Anderson Hill Road, and we propose to maintain that access. There is secondary access through Doral Greens from the Arrowwood site through Doral Greens, and from Doral Greens actually through the Arrowwood site to Anderson Hill Road. So there are several emergency means of access. One of the things that's important to note is the topography on the site. I don't know why, I don't play golf, so I never walked the site before, but there's a lot more topography than I would have thought, and it slopes down from east to west, more than 80 feet. So a significant amount of topography that we're dealing with, and I want to just have that in the back of our minds when we start talking about the proposed site plan. So in laying out the buildings and the plan, Tony alluded to the fact that we've been at this for a while. Erickson's been at this for a long time. They are, as Marianne will tell you, they have over 24 communities throughout the country, over 30,000 residents in their communities, and they plan things out very well because they're not a developer. They're an owner. They're a manager. These are their communities. They don't sell them. They want them to work. They know how to make them work, and so they've been very thoughtful about laying these out. So the goal here is to situate lower height buildings closer to Doral Greens at the higher portion of the site, closer to Anderson Hill Road, but still set way back, and take advantage of that sloping topography to go vertical a little bit. Vertical works really well with with this use because it's all about limiting walking distance. Elevators are wonderful, so vertical works really well here. So the project, as Tony mentioned, 834 units of a Continuum of Care Retirement Community, or CCRC. It'll be split up between what we'll think of as more independent living units, 1 and 2 bedroom units, varying in size. There'll probably be 8 different sizes or more. And then 84 assisted living memory care units.
Peter,
Yes, sir.
the 834 units, they are spread over how many buildings? I can count it, but how many buildings off the top?
It's 12, I believe. I believe it's 12. 1, 2, 3. Well, it's 12 total buildings, I'm sorry. 10 residential, 11 residential buildings. Apologies.
You're splitting up the 84 into assisted and memory care because they're two different things.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So the 84 would be split, and that'll be split based on the need. There are different regulations, as you know, for assisted living and memory care. And once you start building that need, the licenses often go by floors. So, you got to be careful about how much you put in and when your license triggers. And what Erickson does is they don't build all 834 units year one, right? You start with, and let me just tell you a little bit about how the community lays out, and I'll come back here. So the community, and this is going to answer your question, I promise. The community is geared around a clubhouse, a community building. And all the residential buildings are attached to that community building and attached to each other through enclosed, conditioned hallways. And so those community buildings serve as the hub. And so this proposal would have 2 community buildings. So what would happen is you'd start with community building 1, you'd build the first few residential buildings, and then you'd bring more residential buildings online, build the second community building, build more residential, and usually the assisted living memory care comes at the end of that because it's for the residents that are there. And so as those first residents move in, need that higher level of care, they're able to have a full facility dedicated to them. If a resident needs that level of care before that facility is built, Erickson can provide it in that independent living unit. They can still provide it, and they will provide it.
The assisted living facility, it's kind of filled from your residents. You don't take somebody directly into the assisted.
Generally speaking, yes. Oh, sorry.
Why don't you, yeah, why don't you come up, Marianne, and speak into our microphone.
Yes, that's right. Marianne Navarro with Erickson Senior Living. We actually can welcome members of the public, people from the outside. I mean, I think ideally, yes, it's for the residents so that it's available to them. We offer that continuum of care, but if there is availability and space, then members from the larger community can join.
And so when you look at this product, and for those of you who had a chance to view the Erickson community in Cedar Crest, New Jersey, you'll know, and for those who haven't had a chance yet, open invitation. We're happy to arrange that. I think it made a big difference to me to see it. It might for you as well. This is really a service-oriented product. This is not people live there and it's their residence, but this is a service-oriented product. And if you break it down by fee, actually, almost 3/4 of the fees go toward services. We're talking dining, healthcare, wellness, social, security, all sorts of things. And that's really what separates this type of CCRC product from a senior living, just generic senior living project, or even other independent living products that you might have in the region.
And I think that that very term, service-oriented facility, I think it's important when we talk about the density. You really you almost comparing apple to oranges if you compare it to these different projects.
You do, and I think one of the things that's interesting to me when we started looking at the numbers is that the employment that's generated by this this use is not insignificant, right? We talked about the traffic, but we're talking between 300 and 400 people who could be working at this facility at everything from management to maintenance to health workers to dining to facilities management, everything in between.
Hospitality.
Hospitality. And so now you've got this built-in workforce, and unlike the office parks around here, those jobs don't go somewhere else, right? These jobs have to stay here, and AI is not replacing them.
I think the only thing you don't have is the funeral director. You have just about everything else.
I don't think you want to go there. I wouldn't recommend that.
So moving right along. So the
But what I mean by that, it's a positive.
It
You
is.
don't have to leave the site.
You
And
don't-
This is the.
It's modeled
does
more
not-
after Connecticut.
Yeah.
Connecticut has done that way before
Yeah,
so
you don't-
many in the Northeast.
You don't have to leave the site, but what we find is, or what Erickson has found is that their residents like to engage in the community, so they have, a lot of them have their own cars, but they also have transportation. They look for opportunities to volunteer in the communities. Most of these people are above average in their affluence, and want to take that opportunity to give back. That's kind of what we see. So you get this opportunity also to integrate with the community, plus the 300 to 400 people who work here, anyone from a high school student who's bussing tables up, and it really provides a great range, we think. To facilitate the project, right, we are asking for a PUD zoning amendment, just like the other PUDs, a site-specific PUD to approve the zoning and the concept plan. We're requesting buildings of 4 stories, and then in select locations on the site, up to 5 stories. And that's only for the buildings farthest away from Doral Greens, farthest from Kingfield, farthest from Anderson Hill Road, really at the bottom of the site next to SUNY
That's by
Burgess.
the pond on.
South of the pond, yeah, and adjacent to
Doral.
the woods.
Yeah.
And so the density we're requesting is 9.1 dwelling units per acre. So the independent living units are dwelling units. They have full kitchens, bathrooms, and 10.1 units, total units. So that includes the assisted living. Your current PUD base is 6 dwelling units per acre. So that's 6 townhouses. We're requesting 9 CCRC units. We want to limit the coverage to 25%. We proposed a parking ratio and then specific setbacks, right? 150 feet from Anderson Hill Road, 100 feet from the sides, and 200 feet from the rear. That's the northern Kingfield boundary. And as Tony said, we have this new consideration of a CCRC attainable unit, an affordable unit. Because these units are not for sale and they're not for rent. So right now, almost everyone's affordable unit code says for sale and for rent, here are the rules. These are not for sale or for rent. You pay an entrance fee when you come in. It's highly refundable. That secures your spot in the facility. That secures your independent living unit. Generally, people sell an asset, a house, what have you, and then you pay a monthly service fee. There is no landlord-tenant relationship, and there's no title transfer. It's a contractual agreement that's entered into, a residency and care agreement that's secured by that entrance fee. So we had to come up with another model. Because this is mostly service-oriented, we also knew that we couldn't just have the same rent levels as the monthly service fee, because the monthly service fee includes food, it includes health care, it includes other things that you would be spending your money on. And so we came up with this model to make these units affordable to people who are at 80% of AMI, up to 80% of AMI, and they, in return, they get a guaranteed home for life, just like any other Erickson resident, guaranteed entry to assisted living and memory care, and we're prorating the monthly service fee, right? So we're pegging it at the affordable rent published by Westchester County, right, for a one-bedroom unit, plus the additional monthly service fee. Erickson units, a traditional Erickson unit, if it was a couple that moved in, would pay a fee for that unit, a monthly service fee, and then they would pay an additional person service fee. That's less, because the first service fee includes your housing as well. So what we said is, let's decouple it, just like that. You pay for the rent at the affordable rate, and then you pay that, if there's a second person, you pay that.
But the entry fee is fixed.
The entry fee is fixed. So the way the
Whether you are affordable or non-affordable,
Correct.
there is no break on that.
Correct. And the way it works is they have a range of entry fees, and that they secure different sizes of units, basically, is what they do. So Erickson proposes to make the lower, the most affordable 2 tiers as eligible for these attainable units. It would not be prorated, but what we're targeting is someone who has an asset, who's, over 62 years of age, maybe they're 80, and maybe they're looking to sell their house, but they don't have a large income. They don't have a large pension. They don't have something, investment income they're living off of, but they do have some income. So they have an asset to secure this, and then they have their income. And that's a pretty sizable chunk of the population who probably fall into that category. And that's what we're targeting. In addition, those units that Erickson would make as affordable units are not any different, as Tony said, than any other unit. In fact, the Broadview site in SUNY Purchase has an affordable program. Their affordable are only in the smallest of the smallest units. In fact, they made a whole nother size for them. They're kind of very small. Erickson will make, they are going to have these, tiers of units. There will be affordable and non-affordable in that same tier. There will be no distinction from the outside, from the inside. You will not be able to tell walking in there if you're in an affordable unit or not, because there will be some smaller units that someone who's not an affordable resident will pay, and some that are. And so it's really integrated into the community.
And you receive the same level of services.
Absolutely same level. No one would know. So, look, I'll give you the pitch. We believe this is a low impact use, relatively, in a pretty good site. As Tony said, we're projecting over $8 million in annual property taxes, more than $5.5 million a year to the school. That's 9% of their budget from last year. About $1.7 million to the village. It's about 6% of their budget last year. And unlike the office buildings or hospitality, we're not going anywhere. These are folks who live here and people who work here. We're stable. We'll go into it in the EIS, but we have less traffic than Arrowwood, similar land coverage, less parking, less traffic than if you were to do an as-of-right townhome development, significantly less traffic. Erickson communities typically have about 1.3 people per unit if you were to average it across all their residents. Average household size in Rybrook is 2.87, right? So we're less than half of the population density.
You're going to be making available ballroom space, banquet space for the outside, or no?
No. So this is a very, again,
It's just a really
community-centered,
self-contained unit.
very much. Tony talked about the setbacks, and then obviously up to the top of that screen is 1100 King Street, right, the former Rexon building. So you got about 500,000 square feet of office space. Since I am a planner and you are the planning board, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the comprehensive plan. We believe this use and the zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Some of the goals that were laid out, right, providing an enduring economic base, preserving natural, cultural, recreational, historic assets. This land has already been developed. It's already been graded. It's already been heavily disturbed. It provides a much needed product, provides a diversity, adds to the diversity of housing choices. And again, changing the density is consistent with what was recommended in the comprehensive plan. While no one really wants to necessarily hear that, the comprehensive plan says we should adjust the density requirements for residential uses in the PUD to a less restrictive regulation.
The comprehensive plan was also created well before, say, 900 King was brought online.
It was. Yep.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. But the point is, I think, and again, we'll go into it, but that 6 units an acre, that's base in the PUD, there are very few, if any, PUDs that meet that today. And so when we start looking at what the densities are, what the FAR is, will be about the same FAR as the arbors, for example.
I'm just speaking to the diversity of housing choices. I'm not sure that point is accurate at all.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, I disagree a little bit, but I hear what you're saying only because this is going to be a very different product than a Sunrise product, than an Atria product.
So we shouldn't compare to those at all then, when looking at density, for instance.
Well,
I think it's always worth it to compare, but I think there are differences.
Yeah, and just to interject, one of the interesting things about this community that we saw in New Jersey is that the way it's laid out, there seem to be a lot of units, but essentially they have sort of hubs with apartments spiraling out, separated by a lot of green space to other hubs. So it's not like other residences where you have single buildings that have to be, fairly large in order to accommodate all the residents.
It differs from Sunrise.
It's an interesting.
That's the comparison.
If you, there are a couple of things maybe you can touch on, because as I understand the procedure, and anyone can interrupt me if I'm wrong, usually we would get a referral from the Board of Trustees for a report and recommendation on the concept plan. But it's a report and recommendation. It's not insignificant. It's a report and recommendation, but we're not the ones that are going to be voting for it. But our jurisdiction is wetlands and steep slopes. And two, I think the discussion about density. Can you comment on your sort of concept of use of green space, which I thought was sort of interesting? And maybe you can comment on whatever wetlands issues and steep slopes issues. You did discuss at the head of the conversation about how the slope is actually going to be used to enhance the building plan.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate that. So the way that this works, and I apologize if it's hard to see on the screen, the yellow are the roof prints. They're not really footprints. Roof prints of the residential buildings. What they've done is they've designed those buildings into the hill so that the parking, almost all of the parking, not all, almost all of the parking is below those buildings. Every residential unit will have a covered parking space under a building. And so we're able to do that because of the slope. So interspersed in between those residential buildings are green spaces. They might be programmed, they might not be. There could be courtyards, there are a number of other landscape features. And so what you'll see is this, you see the residential building as kind of a C or an L. If you square that off and make a rectangle, that's the footprint of the garage. And so on top of that is space that we're able to utilize, Ericsson's able to utilize for amenity spaces. Diego's able to utilize them for stormwater and other places. So in addition to having larger stormwater areas that we'll need, obviously, we're able to intersperse some stormwater features throughout those buildings. And so by breaking them up, we're really able to kind of reduce kind of the kind of scale and massing a little bit. It's still a good sized development program. I'm not going to say it's not. But the way that it's been laid out really kind of takes advantage of that opportunity. In terms of wetlands, we shouldn't have much of any direct wetland impact. Most of that forest in SUNY Purchase right? There's wetland in there, right? You got the Blind Brook and you've got wetlands. We might be grading a little in the wetland buffer, but the wetland is really on the SUNY Purchase side. The tree line is more or less the property line, and it's grass up to that tree line. So it's already been disturbed. We might be grading it a little bit, but we're not planning on going into the wetlands. There are a couple pockets of steep slopes that we would be modifying as well.
Peter, just out of curiosity, out of 83 acres, when it's all said and done, what percentage of the site would remain impervious?
Impervious would be about 23-24%.
That tells you how much green space you have.
Diego can make any comments.
I just want to add one thing. I apologize.
Exactly.
Diego Villarreal with JMC, the engineers with the applicant. No, I wanted to just emphasize a point. I think the area of development that you're seeing right now, two things that Peter spoke about. A lot of the area is already disturbed, and we're all really focused in, even though it's a sprawling development area. The previous building that was there, when you look at an aerial photograph of the existing conditions, it really was a sprawling building, extended pretty far south, extended pretty far north. And all of these areas is focused in what was already disturbed areas, whether or not it was the golf course or the previous hotel with the parking areas that were there. And the steep slopes that are being disturbed as a result of this project were really manufactured steep slopes as a result of that. The golf course itself has all these fabricated hills and sand traps that was created as part of the golf course. You don't really have any pristine areas that were trying to be protected within the development area. The natural areas that occur along the perimeter of the property, that wooded area on the south and western side of the property, all of that is being maintained. And what you actually see is those areas that were disturbed by the golf course, some of it's going to be restored along the northern end, that buffer between Kingsfield and the property, the area of parking between Doral Greens, all of that is being restored back to a more natural condition. So even though it is somewhat of a sprawling development, again, what was there before was a sprawling development as well, and we're really working within those boundaries, and in a lot of cases, bringing it back in a little bit tighter. And re-emphasizing again the parking under the building. It was something that we worked with Erickson, significantly reduces the amount of impervious area that would otherwise need to be created. The building is the building. Putting the parking underneath those areas, that added cost with the construction, working within the hillside, again, significantly reduces the amount of impervious area and gives us a lot of opportunities to do stormwater management between the buildings. Erickson, as a landscape architect that we've been working with hand in hand, that has already incorporated a lot of those features in between the building and those things. These are just, again, all of which will be vetted through the DEIS process, but just wanted to make the board aware that these things were all considered in the development of this plan. It's not just a picture, it's something that's really been vetted and designed and worked through with a number of design professionals, taking into consideration all of these things that we know this board, the village board, and the village is going to be interested in as we go through this
I'm
process.
surprised that you will have any steep slopes when it's all done and finished, yeah.
It's really not much that's
Yeah.
out there. It's, again, fabricated as a result of the construction of the building previously, and then the golf course itself. When I think of steep slopes, I think of wooded hillsides. Those are the things that you're trying to preserve and protect as a result of that ordinance, and that's just not what you have on this case.
Peter, you may have mentioned it at the beginning, but I was asleep, so I apologize. How does the density here compare to the 900 King Street? I should know that, I worked on it, but.
Well, so the density is, we're less. So number one, we're lower. 900 King Street is 13.1 units per acre. We're at 10.1. They are at 0.45 FAR. We're at 0.39 FAR. The Arbors is about 0.37, just as a comparison. It's not, I'm not making any
Okay,
value
thank you.
judgments.
Can you comment on the pond that's on the northwest? That feature, I mean, is that a man-made feature, or is that?
I don't know if it probably was man-made. I'm not positive. I think it was for the golf course, but it is part of the Blind Brook at this point. I mean,
Right.
it's connected.
Right.
It's directly connected. There's an inlet and an outlet to it. And that's, again, one of the features that we talked about early on. It's an area that's going to be preserved, incorporated into the design, removing the golf course features that are around it, restoring
You're
some
going
of
to be
the...
expanding the pond.
As part of this application, no, we are not looking at expanding the pond. It's maintaining its current location. We are proposing a relatively large stormwater basin on the southern portion of the site. You see the area that's there. Tony alluded to it, early on with stormwater management. We have an obligation, no net increase, no runoff, no increase to downstream properties. I know it's an engineering requirement, not only by your village, but the New York State DEC, where we have to comply with all of those requirements. But we are looking at enhancements to that pond, as well as a significant stormwater management measure down on the southern portion of the property, in addition to everything else that's going to be
Is
done.
it going to be a passive pond, or are you going to have recreational boats or anything like that?
I hope no boats. I'll ask Steve and Marianne. I don't know. That I don't know. Hold on. What do you want to say?
Cohn was talking about it. Mr. Cohn was gonna have boats.
This was great. So I just want to say one thing. So with less impact, when you look at this from an impact point of view, it's less impacts than the Doral Arrowwood. And Doral Arrowwood gave the village $1.7 million plus $350,000 in hotel tax. We're at 8.1. That's all. So less offsite impacts, and we're quadrupling the tax to the village. That's all I got to say.
So we went through all the approvals and everything. I think enough of us talking. I apologize. I would like to ask Marianne Navarro with Erickson Senior Living to come up and just talk about Erickson as a company. So both Marianne is here and Steve Montgomery is here from Erickson. They plan to be here regularly. You will get to know them, so you don't have to just look at us. But I do want to take the chance because it is a very interesting company.
Peter, before you go, can I just ask you one more other
Please.
question regarding emergency services?
Yeah.
Can you talk about the impact to those?
Yeah. So that is going to be one of the areas we need to really focus on. We've already started the conversations with Chris. Marianne's going to go into it a little bit. Basically, as part of Erickson's model, their model is really caring for the person, the resident. They will be providing the lift assist. They have their own Erickson Health Group, which is the largest provider of primary geriatric care in the country. They have them in their facilities. There are emergency medical responder EMR certified staff everywhere. They respond basically to about 87% of the calls for service within their community. They're doing basically everything you can. They're doing the lift assist. They're doing all of that. There will still be calls for 911 service. There will be. We're working on figuring out that number. We're going to be working with Chris. We've already started setting things up to talk about what does that do to the EMS service now. I don't have that answer for you, but we need that answer, and we're going to get it and figure it out. And that's one of the biggest.
That goes for, I would assume, police, fire.
Correct.
And what about Con Ed service, gas and electric?
We're beginning to reach out with them now. We haven't reached out yet. We're still there.
Well, wait. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So I just have to laugh. This plan is almost a preliminary site plan. There has been so much thought and money. The people they have on staff
I believe you,
in-house.
I'm just asking.
There's a landscape. No, I know. I just want to tell you, the landscape architect is like in Minnesota. The other architects over here. Things are generated within hours.
Tony, you're not telling us that we don't have to review it, are you?
No.
Because I apologize, but that's what I'm hearing from you.
But it's just you got oil and gas or gas and electric. I mean, this is normally you get a cartoon. This is what we're thinking of
except that
doing.
gas is an issue in this area now.
Yes. So we need to start looking at that and the loads and everything else. Obviously, there's gas and electric there. There was a big user. We're coming up with the loads now, and that's our next reach out.
Well, I mean, this is part of the DEIS.
Part of the DEIS. I mean, what I will say is, the good news is we have a will serve from Veolia. We have a will serve for sewer. So we're pretty far ahead, but gas and electric, not yet.
Can you just speak a little bit to the need for a zoning and or use change here?
Yeah. So the use is permitted. The P-
Sorry, let me just, the use is specifically, the change in use is being specifically refined and defined, right, here? So yeah, that's one of my questions, and the other one is just why is there a zoning change required here also?
Yeah. So the currently the PUDs permit senior living facilities, which are defined as residential uses for those 62 years of age and older. So that's permitted. That's what we are. We're proposing as part of our zoning text amendment to refine that use and specifically define the CCRC use as a type of senior living facility. The reason we're doing that is because we are attaching a separate affordable housing requirement to that use. Because without redefining that, we're stuck because we don't have a for sale product or a for rent product.
Understood.
So we're defining the subset of a senior living facility for the sole purpose of advancing a separate affordable housing requirement. That's the requirement. The rest of the zoning is bulk and density requirements and dimensional requirements for the specific concept plan.
Thank you.
Sorry, Marianne.
Hi again, everybody. Our team did a really good job of telling our story, so there's not a whole lot for me to say, but they really have dug in and learned a lot about Erickson and our product and our residents and our community, so they were able to share a lot of information. But I will just say that we are a growing company. Erickson, we were founded in Baltimore over 40 years ago. Our offices, Steve and I, our offices are actually right on the grounds of our very first community. So we're part of the senior living environment every day in Baltimore. And I think that just is an example that we are the long-term owners, operators, managers of our communities. And so we have really developed a product over time and refined that product and continue to refine that product constantly in order to serve our our seniors, and that very unique population, over 80 years old, and to meet their needs. So I think that's really part of our story and why we get so involved in developing the properties, because we're going to own them, manage them, operate them long term. But again, we were founded in Baltimore. Now we've grown over the years. We're one of the top 5 senior living providers in the country, and we currently are in 11 states. If we have a community here in New York, it'll be the 12th. Our 12th state. We don't have any properties here in New York, but we've been wanting to be here for a very long time. Our mission is to help people live better lives, and that's really for our residents, over 33,000 residents, I think now, and our employees.
Yeah. I
go ahead.
have a question for you. When we were visiting your facility in New Jersey, one of the things that impressed me, because I have a mother who's 88 years old, is the internal medical facilities that you have, and your concept behind that, and how you differ from other products with that.
Sure.
You can comment on that. I appreciate
Yes. Actually, there are a couple of things that really set Erickson apart from other senior living providers, and really that top one would be healthcare and access to healthcare. So all of our communities have an on-site medical center. Our residents can see doctors, they're Erickson doctors, Erickson Health Medical Group, exclusive to our residents and also our employees. They can see them same day, manage their care. Probably in a community this size, we would have probably 3 or 4 dedicated physicians just for our residents. In addition, we would have all of the, like, nurse practitioners, nurses, social workers, medical aides, all the tech staff. So we really offer that, that whole primary care environment, and then also we bring in specialists as well. And then we work very closely with the neighboring health systems. We develop very strong relationships with them so that if our resident is going to have surgery, or they're going to be, they have a hospital stay and then they're transitioning back, or they're coming from rehab, you know, our on-site care coordinators are working regularly with the hospital staff to make sure that those
your
residents are
medical
transitioning back
services,
successfully.
Fee for service, or how does that work? Are they private physicians? Is it part of the service fees of Erickson, or are they required to carry medical insurance like everybody?
They are, the physicians group is Erickson Health Medical Group. So they are a practice that's exclusive to our residents, but they are regular
My question
doctors,
is,
yeah.
do they contract with Medicare? Do they?
We accept Medicare.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Yes, and we also have a product. We have a Medicare Part D product that some of our, yes, we do, Erickson Health Advantage, and our residents can elect into that if they want. They're not required to do that, but many of them do, and we've seen some very good outcomes for the residents that have that extra service, as far as their ability to stay out of the hospital and shorter stays, and we have a lot of data around that. So yeah, definitely that is a major component. We also talked a little bit about the we have 24/7 safety and security protocols and staff in place. All the staff is emergency management response certified, trained, as well as a number of staff have the basic life safety CPR. So we're able to, we have an in-house communication system and protocols. We're able to respond to all of the needs of our residents. If it's a fall, if they're feeling, lightheaded, we check daily on our residents. We make sure that they're getting up out of their unit. If they have not gotten out of their unit, no one's, seen them that day, we're going in, we're doing a welfare check. We use electronic monitoring to do.
Here's another question.
Mhm.
Are you certified, or how does it work with as a wellness and health facility? How does it work with New York State Department of Health? How does it work, or does it with the Joint Commission? Accreditation, things like that. Your specifically your medical services. Who surveys it? Who makes you accountable? What requirements are
Since we
there?
do not have a community in New York yet, we haven't been through that process, but we have a full regulatory group, and they actually are part of Steve and I's team.
All right, I'd
And
be
so
very
they've done,
interested in
we've done
hearing
some
more about
initial documentation with the Attorney General's office in New York, understanding the CCRC, senior living requirements, regulations in the state of New York, and how the different levels of care, the continuum of care will be
There are
regulated
many.
here. Yes, in New York, and we know, and so we're
We're the most
we are-
regulatory state in the country.
Yes. So our team, we have a team that's very experienced. We also are getting a team put together. We actually have 2 properties in California, so we're working there as well, moving through those regulatory hurdles. So as we get closer to developing a community, if we're successful, then we have a whole on-site health, or we have a whole in-house health operations group, the regulatory group, and so they've already started to do their due diligence and there.
Yeah.
So again, so we talked a little bit about some of the success we've had with managing those calls for service or the internal needs of residents in-house. We achieve nearly 90% of the calls our residents make. We're able to address their needs directly And then about, 10% of them would have to be transferred outside to 911, the 911 system or police and fire. And we have relationships, we develop relationships with the local jurisdictions. And we look forward to working with Chris. We've had preliminary meetings with him. So I think we look forward to working with him. And then I'll just say again, I think another differentiator for Erickson is just the scale of our community and how we're offering our residents the level of service. And we're able to provide the lifestyle to many more residents to meet that need for the growing senior population, and how we've refined our program and architecture and community over time to address those needs.
I've been reminded by our attorney that we actually have a task to perform, but I want to ask, in terms of timing, when do you need the planning board's comments with respect to the DEIS?
Scope,
The scope,
so that
10 days.
If they shut it down on the 8th, which they probably will,
so you have,
to the 18th of September, or any time after that. if
Right,
you wanna
right.
give us
and we'll take them.
Because what I'm thinking of, I assume
You may
every,
have to have a special meeting.
Meeting on the
You may
10th.
have.
You have a meeting on the 10th.
okay. But then maybe we should schedule something.
I think we should have a little.
Have what?
I mean, we're not going to be able to, I mean, I think we can,
I mean, we have a document now. We don't have to wait till the 8th to comment on this.
yeah. I
We are
mean,
commenting on the proposed scope of this document. Do we want them to consider some other things? Oh,
I mean,
that's pretty much what that's
mean,
my understanding.
I mean, my thinking is this, unless, I open the floor if there's any issue in having reviewed this document that any board member has with the DEIS. I mean, I looked at it myself. There's nothing that sprung out at me that was sort of unusual that we needed to include. It's a pretty comprehensive document. It's pretty standardized.
I
don't
think there
know.
may be some other, few things that we
Right.
wanted to consider in addition to what they are proposing, but I think the document is pretty much
Yeah.
complete scope.
I mean, my thinking is that we have some time in order to, people can provide comments to.
I honestly, we don't have to wait till the 8th of September. We can do,
I understand.
That's my feeling.
However, do take into account that you have two board members who are not here, who may have other
Yes,
opinions
that's true.
and may have other comments that we may not be including.
That is
We do have the meeting on September 10th. That's within the time period.
Okay.
There are other persons who are on vacation, other staff members, other professionals who may not be here. So to do a special meeting between now and September 10th may be a little difficult.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Well,
Can we meet the 18th of September deadline?
yeah, because we're meeting on September 10th.
well,
September 10th,
Then I think
Here.
we, then I think
Yeah, we have a
can-
regular meeting on September 10th
I think
anyway,
we can-
and the
we can provide
agenda
our
only has one or
comments
two
and-
I
items
think
on it.
What I think we should do
Yeah.
is that any board member that has comments with respect to this, send them to Pam. And what we'll do is that whatever comments are received by Pam, she and I will review them. And then we'll review whatever feedback we've given by our next meeting.
I remember the 900 King, our comments were minimal. Yeah, it was
Well,
really-
it's even, there were some, issues with some wetlands there
Yeah.
and some other things which do not exist with this particular
Yeah.
application. So I think for us, at least, my opinion is that there's not a lot of legwork to be done.
So if you can coordinate all of that, if you want us back on the 10th, let us know. And is it this full presentation, or are we going to be here to answer a few questions? Either, we'll do
No.
whatever you'd like.
I don't think that's necessary personally.
Yeah, no, just,
I am.
Yeah, I think you guys have been pretty comprehensive.
I think, personally, I'm maybe at the advantage
It's
somewhat,
not time.
because I have been
But-
in the discussions with you 3-4 times, so I think I get a little better feel for the project.
Yeah.
Right.
And if there are any questions, similarly, give them to Pam, and
Yeah.
we can get them to
Yeah.
us and we can try to get response. It doesn't have to wait, like we'll
I-
get you whatever you need.
I think, I think the goal is by our next meeting, we are going to be done with what we're entrusted to do. So that by the time the Board of Trustee meets 8 days later, they'll have whatever additional comments, if we have any additional comments with respect to
I do have a question. I think you made, and it's even in the document, that the build-out timeframe, you're looking 6-7 years. I hope that's not continuous construction for 6-7 years, because that would be very disruptive to
So-
the
so it's-
community and the area.
It's not,
It's phased in, right?
it's phased in, however, the thought now is, and Diego hasn't finished all the plans yet, I don't think, but the thought is we would do most of the grading, the excavation, getting the pads ready, the roads, the stormwater, get all that in, so that the buildings are more or less pad ready. So you do the first couple in the first phase, and then you're talking about putting up one more building. When that's full, one more building. When that's full. So yes, there would be construction, but it wouldn't be this.
You're not gonna have cement trucks driving down for 7 years in a row?
No.
Okay, yeah,
No.
that's better.
Well, not continuously for 7 years.
It would be, but in a phased manner.
Yeah, not continually for 7 years, but yes, for 7
But
years.
I don't mean 24 hours, every single day of the
No.
week, yeah.
No.
And I'll just add that by the time it gets to 7 years, like, we'll have a full community of residents living there that would complain also, so we try to really.
I was hoping you were gonna say that,
Any
yes.
impacts on
That's right.
the residents and our neighbors.
How
Thank you,
about
thank
this,
you.
just real quick, before we, as part of the DEIS scope, there's a construction section within there. There will be a detailed
Schedule.
construction schedule, construction management information. There'll be information that's going to be provided that I think will answer each of those questions there about the sequence of construction, the timing, the duration, and the sequencing of the plan as well.
All right,
Okay.
Thank you.
thank
I
you.
All right.
appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Are we done?
Yeah.
I think so.
Can we
That's the goal.
have a motion and a second to adjourn? Or we have
Moved.
something?
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Aye.
Only those that sleep.